Okay, so as promised, we will now continue in English, and I hope you enjoyed the presentation by Denis. Thank you, Denis. Now it's time for the roundtable and the panel discussion. We will discuss now growth and innovation in Southeast Asia with Marianne Tan and Damien Duhamel. So Marianne, let me just present you shortly. So you're a regional director at the Singapore Economic Development Board, and you advances Singapore's engagement with companies in France, but also in Spain and the UK. Previously, you were part of the Energy and Chemicals division of the EDB, where you were an account manager for petrochemical and specialty chemical companies. You also led the talent development and R&D strategies for the sector, and you later joined the Human Capital division, where you were in charge of workforce augmentation policies and talent development for the digital sector. Damien, you are a managing partner and board member at YCP Solidiance. You co-founded Solidiance Asia Pacific in Singapore in 2007. And within 10 years, you drove the opening of 12 offices in Asia, including 7 in Southeast Asia. So this is a region that you pretty well know. Solidiance has subsequently was acquired by YCP Group in 2018, and you're recognized as one of the key experts in growth and innovation strategy in the region. You through this broad experience in Asia, you specifically, more specifically in Southeast Asia, you supported various Fortune 500 clients as well as several family-owned businesses on growth strategy and transformation blueprints. So my first question is maybe for you, Marianne, because I'm not sure everyone knows about what EDB is. So maybe you could make a short presentation of what is EDB. And I would like to have a more general question as well about your feeling regarding the situation, the comments about the situation, both on health topics and economic topics. So this is 2 questions in one, the presentation of EDB and your general comments about the situation.
Sure, and thank you, Gregoire. I'm from the Singapore Economic Development Board. We are the government agency that charts and implements Singapore's economic strategies. So what that means really is that we work with international companies to understand your needs and to see how we can support your growth in Asia through Singapore. We work, for example, with a lot of the other government agencies to ensure that there's the right infrastructure, whether it's for manufacturing or whether it's for the digital sector. We also connect you with potential partners, whether it's for innovation or to find office space, which is something that everyone needs to find. Yeah, so that's what the Singapore EDB does. And I've been based in Paris for 2 years now. And my role, as Gregoire mentioned, is to engage with French, Spanish, as well as the UK companies who have an interest in Asia. About the economic and health situation in Asia. So as you know, it evolves from week to week. But what has been quite encouraging is that if you look at the statistics for manufacturing, for example, we have seen month-on-month growth, especially when you compare it to last year. So Singapore has always kept our supply chains open. Well, we are a global center for manufacturing as well as logistics. And from the manufacturing sector, it's been very positive because across sectors, we've seen quite actually a strong bounce back from the situation last year.
Thank you, Marianne. And what about you, Damien? Can you make a short presentation of what YCP Solidiance does and your own comments about the situation?
Absolutely. First of all, thank you for having me. I'm very excited. This is a great chance for Eurogroup to move to Asia. As a French guy based in Asia, I'm always excited to see French companies moving and taking the steps to go to Asia. So congratulations to Gregoire and to your group. To present YCP Solidiance, we are a growth advisory firm headquartered in Singapore with 15 offices throughout Asia Pacific. So basically in all countries, in all cities, from Tokyo to Beijing, Shanghai, Hong Kong, Taipei, Jakarta, Manila, Singapore, Kuala Lumpur, Saigon, Yangon, and all the way to Dubai. So we have 15 offices. Our role is to help Fortune 500 companies, but also large family-owned businesses throughout the world, but also in Asia, to find a route to grow and to accelerate their growth. Asia is all about growth, but how do you pick your growth, your best bet between China, between India, between Southeast Asia? You can't grow everywhere at the same time. So companies come to us, we figure out, where do I grow? Where do I invest? What channel is best for my product? How do I reach my customer in Thailand, in tier 2 cities in Thailand, and soon in tier 3 cities in Thailand? Therefore, very hands-on, very practical across many industries. I tend to work mostly in heavy industries, all the way from construction materials, energy, machinery, and so on. But our group covers quite a wide range of industries.
Comments about the situation, the current situation.
Well, if I knew, if I knew all that has happened in 1 year, to be fair, Asia and Southeast Asia was best in class a year ago, if you remember, at least in the Western media. We're looking at Singapore, Thailand, Vietnam, no COVID, no cases, and so on. But that zero case strategy, I think, is not sustainable. You cannot remain closed to the world for forever. Even Australia goes into confinement every 3 weeks or every month. I don't know, I lost count. Singapore is always, in many cases, the best in class. There you go, I said it. But it is also surrounded by countries which are not the best in class. I could name two, one north and one south, Malaysia and Indonesia, where it's a bit of out of control. But funny enough, life goes on as usual. Keep in mind, in Asia, we're very practical. It's a virus. We've seen worse before. We've seen SARS. We've seen the bird flu. It's one of those viruses. Unlike in Europe, where it was the end of the world, I think Asia kind of took it with a big breath and moved forward. So the mood is not catastrophic. And as Marianne said, yeah, business actually is pretty good right now, even though you still have COVID, even though we don't know when this will be completely over. But I would say, in terms of growth, the projections for ASEAN are quite healthy in 2021. Last year, in 2020, Vietnam and Indonesia posted positive GDP growth, 3 or 4%. It was quite decent despite the crisis. And looking forward, I think ASEAN will bounce back with a fury.
Thank you, Damien. Let's talk about growth with you, Damien, again. What are, so we enter at the core of the discussion now. What are, from your perspective, the major trends and the long-term opportunities for the French company that have a look at Southeast Asia?
ASEAN and Asia at large is a basket of growth. So you have to pick your fights. You have to pick where you want to grow and how you want to grow. Now, I could name 15 angles where growth drivers. I mean, first of all, urbanization. And if you take Singapore out, because Singapore is already fully urbanized, so Singapore is an outlier. But if you look at Indonesia, Vietnam, Thailand, Malaysia to some extent, but also Philippines, we're far behind in terms of urbanization. But Asia and Southeast Asia is leapfrogging that growth. You go from what we call kampong, so a small village, to a smart city overnight. You know, and Asia, Southeast Asia does not have to go through a long transition. You go from a unknown town to overnight, you know, with smart buildings being built, green buildings being built, and that trend of urbanization is there to stay for the next 30 years, 40 years. You know, it's still only 47% urbanized as of today, Singapore excluded. There's a long way before we are at 80%, 90% as the rest of the developed world. The second trend, which is a massive trend, is the rise of the middle class. again, Southeast Asia used to be a lot of a happy few and a lot of less happy few. For the past 20 years, thanks to the growth of Southeast Asia, there is momentum in the middle class. Again, I think it's 60% will be classified as middle class by 2030. Now, if you take the overall population of Southeast Asia, which I think is about 650 million people, if 60% are middle class, it offers massive opportunities all the way from consumer goods, packaged goods, but everything else, travel, education, services. So the opportunities in terms of the middle class rising in Southeast Asia is very clear. We have seen the impact of the middle class rising in China, what it did to our dear friends at LVMH. It'll be no different in Southeast Asia. The growth of middle class is a massive trend. The other one is ASEAN, the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, for those who don't know. 10 countries, 650 million people, is a force to be reckoned with. You know, it's a new entity, it's a young entity, not new, but young, sorry, which means it's still searching for its soul, its angles, how to work politically, economically. But there is, again, a strong will, a strong desire to be a force to be reckoned with globally, not just in Asia. I understand that Southeast Asia is kind of locked in between, on one hand, China. It is far away, but the influence of China is felt all the way through Southeast Asia and India. So Southeast Asia needs to rise and needs to continue its integration. And that offers, again, tremendous opportunities in logistics, in education, in talent management, big question, in intra-country connectivities. That means airports, ports, roads. That is, again, a strong driver of growth in Southeast Asia. One of the consequences of COVID is really the digital boom, which was already there in Southeast Asia, but it completely accelerated that boom. So I'm not sure what's been a boom, an explosion, but in Singapore, in Bangkok, in Jakarta, people have switched from going to the mall to buy things online. When I say people, it's everybody. That means including people on the street that live in this humble, very humble way. They will order everything through their mobile phones. So mobile phones economy is here to stay. Two more points. Logistics has been a key area of interest during COVID, because they were one of the few industries booming during those difficult months. So for governments across Southeast Asia, I think they clearly understand they need to continue the growth for the logistic industry, to support it with new infrastructure. Again, new airports, new ports, new roads, new trains, new connectivity. The industry, our numbers show a growth of 40% during COVID, and yeah, everybody wants this continuum to pursue. Last one is also the need to it's a consumer-driven need to see the world in a green way. Before, it was very much government-driven. You'll have to be green. You have to recycle. You have to live in green buildings or in energy-efficient buildings. But I think this desire to live in green environments now comes from the consumer. They want to recycle. They want to reuse. They want to reduce excessive usage, and they want to reinvent new models.
Thank you, Damien. I know you could speak for hours about all these topics, and it's absolutely interesting. Please hold, I have a message from the team. You have to hold the mic like this and not like this, because people online can't hear. So let's talk about innovation, Marianne. Could you tell us what the innovation ecosystem in Singapore looks like, and give us some concrete examples and how the French company can leverage on the Singapore ecosystem that you built up.
Yep, sure. Is this okay?
I think so.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so innovation in Singapore is a very interesting one because, you know, Singapore is a population of 5.6 million in a region of 650 million. But what we have built up over the years is an ecosystem that is connected, not just, it's not in silos. So when we talk about innovation, it's not innovation for innovation's sake. It's very much innovation in connection with manufacturing, in connection with consumer market insights. It is to find that product market fit. And what Singapore has done there is to then create a facilitative environment so that it's easy for companies from all over the world to innovate for the Asian consumer. So this is by making sure that we have a strong IP regime, ensure that we have a strong pool of skilled talent, while at the same time remaining open to international talent. And I think what's really interesting there is creating test beds and opportunities for companies to develop, test, and commercialize their products. So to give you a few concrete examples, I would say that we have built up quite a good landscape of corporate labs. And I would say that there are three types. So first you have, you know, corporate labs like Schneider Electric, NG, EDF. They all have labs in Singapore and they create new products and solutions for their consumer. But what you can do in Singapore is also to work with academia. So for example, Rolls-Royce works a lot with the Nanyang Technological University with the aerospace program. You also have BASF, a chemicals company that works on food ingredients with the Food Innovation Research Center. And finally, you have companies that actually work together. So they have joint labs in Singapore. One which is quite interesting is a French company, Easy Miles. So they are a startup in autonomous vehicles, working with Continental on autonomous vehicle technology. And quite recently, because, you know, food in Southeast Asia is very existential, and it's an area that Singapore is investing very heavily in. So Givaudan, which is in food ingredients, and Bühler, which is in manufacturing equipment, are actually working together on alternative proteins and plant-based foods in Singapore. So some very interesting innovations that have come out of Singapore then are in the consumer space. For example, if you eat Magnum ice cream or some of Ferrero's products, actually quite a lot of those flavors were created in Singapore and then tested in that market, because the Southeast Asian market is one that is quite adventurous with food. But you also have other examples in medtech, for example, where Illumina, which is in sequencing and assays, so they created new types of rapid sequencing technologies out of Singapore. So really across the sector and in areas that meet a need from Asia, and from there they globalize. Yeah, you know, I wanted to touch on some points that Damian raised as well. So riding on the trends of urbanization, on the rising middle class, Singapore has created some programs in order for companies to be able to leverage the research ecosystem, while at the same time, you know, finding the right challenge statements that they can address. In finance, for example, we have a sandbox because as the population in Southeast Asia is very much mobile first, so actually oftentimes people have a mobile phone before they have a bank account. So you have to think about new ways to address this market. And in sustainability, you know, it's increasingly becoming a topic that everybody talks about. So we have put some real money, 50 million for low carbon research and 23 million for food tech research. And this is where we want to work with companies in order to innovate for the Asian market.
A few things, if I'll hold the mic properly, yeah. I think Marianne is too humble. I want to give two examples on how Singapore is an amazing place for innovation. At first, Singapore was competing at a regional level. This is no longer the case. Singapore is not competing at a global level for innovation. It is a hub for innovation, seen and perceived and respected globally, all the way from Tokyo to San Francisco and Frankfurt. Many companies are also shifting their global headquarters to Singapore, not just for financial reasons, possibly for financial reasons, because the EDB is great at attracting companies, but also because innovation strives in Singapore. Daiso, which is a pretty innovative company, has shifted their global headquarters to Singapore. And I have many clients that have shifted either a BU, complete BU management globally from Singapore and other firms. The other thing is, from our humble experience, we were able to set up a company in about half an hour in Singapore. This is like 15 years ago. It came with a bank account, I think at OCBC, an entrepreneur bank account. For those who are young and less young in the audience, I'm not sure if you try to open a company in France in half an hour with a bank account. I've never tried. I probably will never try. But I can tell you that in Singapore, it took us half an hour to open a company to Accra and so on. And then it came with a bank account, which was very helpful. We also work in Singapore with a few entities, one of which was Spring and IE Singapore. We, as non-Singaporean, benefited extremely well from the programs that Singapore offers to companies. These programs are not offered to only Singaporean, they are offered to Singaporean companies. We were a Singaporean company, and it helped us tremendously in terms of cash. So we received grants, so free money from the Singapore government to help us in our growth. So thank you, because it helped us a lot. But I want to give you perspective of a small firm, us in Singapore. We were not lot. I don't think we were a priority for the Singapore government, yet we were able to receive a lot of interest, a lot of airtime and cash, which I think will be quite difficult from my perspective to do in France at that time. 12 guys in a company on a high street road in Singapore. I don't think we'll get the same support in France. So kudos to Singapore.
So you're the own case. I didn't knew you would showcase your own case. Marianne, maybe my question will be, because I see the time running, my question will be more about the key success factors and how do companies innovate through Singapore? What will define how to succeed, how to innovate, and what will define the different, challenging, well, what makes your ecosystem specific compared to others?
So to succeed in Southeast Asia, first is recognizing that this is a region of 11 different countries, each with its own culture, not unlike Europe actually. So going there with the right mindset and recognizing this is a region that is actually quite different from Europe and being willing to try different things. So to give you an example, In Vivo, which is here an agricultural cooperative, here they do B2B work, right? And when they set up something in Singapore, they said, why not let's try something different? We are going to open our first bistro epicerie, and it's doing very well. So having that daring do, willing to do something different, recognizing and listening very much to the ground also, is important for success in Southeast Asia. And of course, you have good partners like YCP Solidians, you have good partners like Eurogroup Consulting to help you to get that feel of the market so that you can adapt your product and your solution to what Asia needs.
And what about you, Damien? What are the key success factors to succeed, to grow? What are what's the route to growth?
Yeah, so to leverage what Marianne said, I'm going to be in your face with the French audience. First of all, from a French perspective, you need to be very humble. And typically, French companies are not humble at all. I have many cases, which I will discuss after during the cocktail, where, well, we are number one in Europe. Yeah, buddy, you're far from Europe. This is Southeast Asia and no one knows you. And that mindset is very difficult for French companies to distance themselves and understand that in Jakarta, in Bangkok, in KL, in Manila, you're nothing. So you have to come with a great level of humility, which, by the way, is a strong Asian value, to understand that you have a long way to go, you have a long way to grow. At the same time, you have to be humble You also have to be nimble and fast. Southeast Asia is hyper competitive, unlike Europe. It goes super fast. Your ideas will be copy pasted, improved next day, next hour, if you're not careful enough. And if you take time, you have 50 layers of management and decision. It takes 2 weeks, 2 months, 2 years to make a decision. You might as well pack your bag and stay in Europe, because Southeast Asia goes at a pace that I would say Europeans and French specifically are not used to. So humility, humble and nimble, number one. Number two, the myth of the white man coming to Asia and to save Asia and to educate Asia and to give its love and intelligence to Asia is over. Sadly for me and for you. That means you have to localize your talent all the way to the top, literally. In Thailand, you need to have time management. In Indonesia, you need to have Indonesians. It used to be that you could have a Brit, a German, a Swiss, and a few French. Those days are literally over. You can find a Swiss in Asia for 20 years, that's fine. But your team needs to be completely localized because, well, today you have great talent also in Singapore, Thailand, Vietnam, Indonesia. Great talent, very eager to learn, very eager to work, working late hours. And to be fair, they are plug and play. They understand the ground, they speak the language, they eat spicy, and so on. Yeah. So localize your talent to avoid those issues. The third point is have a long-term perspective. We see too many companies coming to Asia, coming to Southeast Asia with, we'll make a quick buck. No, as we say, quick buck equals a quick burn. You will not make a quick buck in Asia. For sure, in Singapore, it's a high cost, high living cost, highly competitive, so you will not make a quick buck in Singapore. And throughout Southeast Asia, it takes time to understand the ground. It takes time to connect. A lot of business in Southeast Asia and Asia at large is done through guanxi, as we say, is connections, your wasta, your people you know, your village, your kampong, your neighbors. It takes time to build relationships, not overnight. So humble but nimble, localize your talent, and have a long-term perspective.
Okay, we have like four minutes left. So I have the last question for the two of you, the same question. Please have like a short answer. My question is, what recommendation would you have? What kind of actions in the very short term, I mean, the post-COVID, the coming months, let's say, should our clients, any French company do? By what should I start, and what are the very short-term opportunities? Maybe Damien first, and then Marianne.
And pick your fight. I mean, ASEAN, as you now understand it, and Marianne said, is not one country, it's not one region. It is 10 countries. I don't know how many dialects and languages, maybe 200, several religions, different food. So you don't have an ASEAN strategy, especially if you're new to the region. Let's have first a country strategy. You could say Singapore, Malaysia if you want, but I mean, Bangkok is different from Jakarta, which is different from Manila, which is different from the rest of the ASEAN countries. So again, be humble, pick your fights, look at country by country, as opposed to have first a pan-regional strategy, which is probably meant to fail.
What about you, Marianne?
I would say find out what your potential customer needs. So what we have is this thing called the Open Innovation Network, and corporates from Singapore, around Singapore, what they do is to put out there, this is what I'm looking for. Go to the Open Innovation Network and find out, and then start thinking from there, okay, which is the addressable market that I'm most relevant to? And I think that's a good place to start. Find out what's the market and how can I adapt my product and solution to that market.
Thank you very much. It's now time for the conclusion. So I hope that online you enjoyed the discussion. So the debate is open. I can feel that there are several questions on debate. So follow us, because there will be some food for thought that we will share in the coming days and weeks. And why not meet again in 1 year to see where we are in the Southeast Asia hub of Eurogroup Consulting. Thanks. Bye.